Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight for World of Pets podcast. We want our pets to live a long life, but we want that to be a healthy life. And we feel that we've found something that can facilitate just that. But mostly, we want this podcast to be just discovering things about pets and laugh and cry with things that our pets do. So, David?
Absolutely. My microphone's on, but I don't see me on the screen, but I'll start anyways. Tonight's sponsor is debspets.com. And he's a mentor to both myself and Deb. And and
Technology.
and
I
technology.
know.
That's what it comes down to, is health
Right.
technology. So we're super proud to have this going on. We want to have a little fun to kick it off with a quick video of my 16-year-old dachshund and a little short still picture of him when he was done playing. Emily, if you can cue that up, that'd be great. Super cute. It's amazing he's been around for so long with all he's been through, to be honest with you. But
Yeah.
Emily, if you would cue up the picture of when he was done, that's the funny part. If not, that's okay. It's anyways, like, so he was just laying on his back with his tongue hanging out the side of his face, basically panting. And it's just so good to see our pets having these longer lives with these products that we find for them. I mean, I can go on and on and on about the joy that pets bring to my life. Deb, do you have anything else to add?
No, I agree with everything you're saying, of course. Mine's standing over there wanting to go out, of course. So, but I do want to introduce our repeat guest, Mr. Kurt Weeks, who is instrumental in my life and in David's life too, with Deb's Pets, because he introduced us. Um, and tonight we've touched on things. So if you've been following all of our shows, a little of this will be repeat, but we would like to focus on his dog Zenta and also Kurt's wife Gail. And primarily, Zenta had some other problems, but primarily the focus will be on autoimmune diseases tonight. So, Kurt, could you tell us a little bit about Zenta's story from the time that you took her to the vet and the vet said she needed to be put down?
I can. And thank you very much for both of you guys for having me on the show. It's an honor and a pleasure to be here and to be sharing today. You'll see behind me. This is Zenta. This is her at 19 years of age. She's going to be begging for some treats, as you see, and just a lot of fun. At 14, the vet basically said that she could be put down. She was old, they said, and they literally were not able to give her any more medication. Not give, Every time I walked out of the vet, it was $200, $300, $400 in a brown paper bag, right? And the vet visit was $200, $300, $400 depending on the tests, and that got into the monthly around that for Zenta. And unfortunately, in today's day and age, we are expecting that to happen. And Zenta chose me, so I was the one who was going to take care of her. She had 7 lumps on her, about the size of my fist, and she was blind. She couldn't see. She had a tough time hearing. She couldn't get up on the couch. She could hardly walk. I was carrying her outside, and her backbone was infused together. Her paw pads were peeling off. Imagine losing the bottoms of your feet.
Mm-hmm.
And when it was time, we brought Zenta home and we put it on Facebook that we were going to put her down, and we gave her anything that she wanted. She was going to go over the Rainbow Bridge. It was all of that. And literally a friend comes over and says, "Hey, have you ever looked at a biscuit that has mushrooms in it?" And I said, "I have a medicine cabinet full." I'm sure, like you, David, and I'm sure, I've heard Debbie talking about all the different remedies and potions and different foods that we've tried to keep our animals healthy. And I had a medicine cabinet full of empty bottles and partial bottles and all of that. And yet here we were on death's door, and they said, "Have you ever tried this?" And I said, "No. What could it hurt?" And Zenta started eating them. And day 3, she walks out the door, and I didn't even think about it, right? She's been walking out the door for 14 years. Why would I even think that would be a problem? Yet I was carrying her out to go to the bathroom for about 2 months, 3 months almost. And on day 4, she jumps up next to me on the couch, looks over at me and says, "Hey, silly, why don't you pet me?"
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now,
Well, I think it's important for people to know too that she was so sensitive because of all these pain that she was in, that she would cower from you under the table, right? Cower away from the other dogs who were puppies and didn't know that they weren't supposed to be playing with her.
And that goes right along with the autoimmune, right? The folks who have autoimmune sometimes will have joints that will be aching. They'll have skin that's not doesn't look nice. They'll have hair that will be flat and not real resilient. And then they'll also end up having pain in the skin and that. And Zenta was literally where I would go to reach to touch her and she'd flinch because she'd be ready for that pain. And when she's looking over at me like, "Pet me," I'm petting her. And there's not an ounce, not a sense of any kind of pain at all. And we started, 3, 4, 5 days later, I'm giving a call back to my friends and going, "What did you give my dog? And how do I get more of this? Because this is an answer for so many people." And on day 30, my wife looks at me and goes, "Zenta had an autoimmune problem. And she's running with the other dog. She's playing with the ducks. She's running around the house. She's out with us, taking us for a walk in the desert. Are you thinking the same thing I'm thinking?" And I'm like, "Yeah, let's get you started on these dog biscuits." And she said, no, let's get the company a call, because this proprietary mushroom and these proprietary strains are what has been studied so much. And if it helped her and she doesn't know placebos, then what will it do for my autoimmune? And my wife had autoimmune disease from the point in time that she was 16 years old and had mono, and she's on medication since she was in her 20s. So literally, my wife looks at me again and says, should you start backing her off on the pain medicine? And I said, "Well, gosh, she hasn't been on pain medicine for a week." And she goes, "Well, what about the 6 steroids that she's on?" And I said, "She took her last steroid yesterday. And so she's medicine free." And jumping back into the autoimmune stuff, when my wife and I are looking at each other around this, and the dog's on no medication, doesn't know placebos, that's when we really started looking at her autoimmune and the dog's autoimmune and go, "Hey, could there be something here?
Mhm.
And how long had she been on the biscuits at that point? And how long from the time that you took her to the vet and the vet said to put her down?
So she was almost 14 going to the vet, and the vet said she could be put down. And she was on the mushrooms for what we calculated to be about 30 days. And so no medications after 30 days. And she lived another 4.5 years running, going to the park, taking us for walks in the desert, chasing the ducks and that sort of stuff, all the way up until she was 19, almost 20 years of age.
It's amazing.
It is.
That's my goal. Peyton and I had a pinky swear that he'd live to 21. So
there we go.
We'll see how that goes.
Zenta had a boyfriend that she would meet at the park, was also on the mushrooms, and a husky, a little bit bigger than Zenta, almost made it to 21.
Wow. Yeah, that's the goal. We want our pets to live as long as possible. It's never fun to let one go, but when you can get the best life out of them just because you change their diet a little bit, man, that is the biggest thing in the world. And I've noticed so many changes in Peyton. Of course, he's had his injuries, getting run over by a forklift and paralyzed and all kinds of stuff. But he actually ran up the stairs the other day.
Really?
And I just literally lost it. I like just started crying. I was like, what the heck just happened? I was like, they wanted me to put him down that night. I was like, just relocate his hip. I've been through this before. I put him in a wheelchair for 2 months, got him so he can move, have full motion, get some strength back. And he's just been puttering about, and then suddenly rip, up the stairs. I'm like, you're joking, right? I just started crying so hard. Like, even just thinking about it, I'll start crying.
Yeah.
So, but that's how important our pets are to us. Is that we get emotional about them, we laugh at them, they bite us when we're playing, the whole 9 yards. I mean, that's the whole point of what we do. And just to see that kind of improvement in like 4 months is unreal. Like if I were to take him back to the vet right now, she'd be like, "What did you do to your dog?"
Yeah, I had taken Zenta back to the vet not too awful long after. It was probably 6 months. Her normal vet visit, right? And the vet says, "She's still alive?" I said, "Yeah, she's doing great." She goes, "You haven't been by to pick up medication. Are you getting, you're getting medication somewhere else?" I'm like, "No medication. She's doing great." And she said, "Is there any way that I can do a blood test?" I'm like, "Yeah. Oh yeah." Ouch, the price tag on the blood test, but we also wanted to be able to have an understanding of kind of where she was around her health. And she comes back and she says, "You know what? I have never seen even a young dog have as good a numbers as this." And I think that brings me back to, I'm sure like you, David, and like you, Debbie, and like many other people, we wish, like this little guy, we wish we would have started them on this stuff when they were this age. I mean, I got 2 8-year-olds that are running around, the shiniest coats, the clearest eyes. They don't know they're 8 years old.
Right.
They're just playing around like they were when they came home, little fuzz balls that are there. And just absolutely amazing. And we see things that other pet parents don't see. Like we see minimal shedding. We see regular bathroom movements. We don't see throw up around. We see, those things that we see as commonplace, and other people go, "Oh, you don't have your dog throwing up, after eating, or you don't have diarrhea from time to time, or those things." And like, not at all. I mean, it's not normal for us to have that stuff. It's not normal for the animals to have it either. And so I love that the younger animals, and here's a little kitten that's on the super sauce. And right now, that little kitten's 3 years old. Most lovable little kitten ever, because it started out on the super sauce that's there. And I'm convinced of it. I can't prove it, but I'm convinced of it because just an amazing, shiny, happy-go-lucky cat that's just absolutely amazing, and roams the neighborhood, rules the neighborhood.
Well, let me interrupt for just a minute. Let's digress. And
Okay.
tell them about Alexandria when the UPS guy comes.
So Alexandria is our cat, and Alexandria is an alley cat that was found on Las Vegas Boulevard. So there's all kinds of jokes you can make about that one. But when she came home, she was very aloof. She didn't want to have anything to do with people, really. She was skittish. We gave her treats. We did everything we could. She just didn't want to have anything to do with anybody. And then all of a sudden she starts getting and we thought her favorite food is Friskies, right? Because that's all she would eat. And then we started getting her the Sequoia food and from your site, Debbie. And all of a sudden what we were finding was that this cat started coming around and being a little bit more lovable. And we started realizing, oh my gosh, her stomach is feeling better. And when my stomach's not feeling, I'm grouchy. Don't be around me when I have an upset stomach, right? And then all of a sudden she's around. So we noticed this when the UPS man comes. She's at the door and she's crying and you're like, what is going on? You know, none of the dogs are moving. Nobody's saying anything except for the cats crying at the door. And you open up the door and there's the box, has the tape on it from your site. And we bring it in and the cat's like, gotta get to it. And you put her food on the table and she knows which one's her bag. And she's growling, purring, trying to get her bag. So they know when we take good care of them and that. I just absolutely love it. So
yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And just to let people know, one of our other sponsors is The Great Discovery, which is a content creators platform. And there is a free course on there that tells about the mushroom that's in these products. I'm sorry, not that specific mushroom. It tells if you are thinking about mushroom supplements, things that you should avoid and things that you should look for. And then we will be having another paid course on more detail on the mushroom itself. But if you look at the bottom of the screen, you can see that periodically it says that The Great Discovery /DN Hayes, and you can go on there and take a look and download the free course. So, okay, Kurt. So let's talk about Gail. And she was diagnosed with 5 autoimmune diseases. And as you said, petitioned the company, let's get these in human form so that I don't have to eat dog biscuits. I'm sure it's what she was saying to you.
I'm sure. Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly what she was saying. And what you see behind me on the screen is a picture of the mushroom that we utilize, not this specific strain. It is particular on the strain, the extraction method, and that. And we have a proprietary extraction method and proprietary strain that's been studied more than 400 times. So that's a critical portion of that. And I love that you're talking about that with a great discovery, Deb. Just absolutely amazing. So beautiful picture of the mushroom that's there. And then we'll move on from there. But when Gail and I were talking about mushrooms, we're not mushroom people. We always thought they either went on the steak or somebody in Washington was trying to taste the rainbow with them, right? We were not, this was not, we had always heard, kind of crazy things about mushrooms and stuff. And to understand them, where they're coming from and how they work was elusive. Even today, the direction in which the market is taking around mushrooms is taking away from a good quality portion of mushrooms. Anyway, I'm getting away from this, getting away from Gail. Let's talk Gail. Gail was diagnosed with 5 different autoimmune diseases. She had hyperthyroidism, and she was taking medication in her early 20s, I think 20 or 21. She started on medication for that. She had what's called Hashimoto's. This is a virus that lives in the liver and comes up around a myriad of problems, including eyesight problems, skin problems, hair loss, all of that stuff. Fibromyalgia, where her skin would literally be in pain. If you just touched her, her joints would be in pain for moving in her rib cage. She would have where she couldn't breathe. She had oxygen deprivation wrapped around that, where her oxygen level would drop into the 70s, and we'd rush her to the emergency room to go get oxygen for her. And then COPD wrapped around that oxygen starvation, and then chronic fatigue syndrome. And these were the things that she was diagnosed with. They prescribed medication for them. And most of the medications, they said, once you're on this, you'll never get off. Congratulations. And we're like, what? This doesn't make any sense. You're not helping me heal. You're just helping me stay on this medication. Mm-hmm. And so when we saw what ended up happening with Zenta, we're like, okay, this could be an answer, or at least a portion of an answer, right? Not a cure, but a help on the immune system. And lo and behold, when we got going with this, my wife and I started, and at about day 4, we look at each other, because day 4 was when Zenta jumps on the couch. On day 4, we look at each other and go, are you feeling anything? And she goes, no, are you? And I said, I think I have some more energy. I'm sleeping really good. And because we knew that the psychological part of taking a new supplement was going to play a part in it, we didn't want that to affect our outcome. And so 30 days in, a little bit more than that, Gail would get exhausted with her autoimmune disease. That would have her crash. The crash would last anywhere from 12 hours to days. And at one time it was 3 or 4 months that she was bedridden. And I was without my wife. I would have to go do events without her. I would have to go, I would venture to church without my wife. And it was as if I had to leave her at home, make sure I was taking care of her, and then go out. And then she couldn't get out of bed. So I'd rush back home, make sure that we could get her to the bathroom and all of those things, take care of her. And so at about 45 days, I would guess, she was exhausted, and that's usually the sign that she was going to crash. We go to bed, and I'm thinking, we're not making it to church tomorrow. We're the next couple of days are toast. And I get up, she's not next to me in bed. And a very scary thing is, I found her on the floor before. I found her on the couch in the other room. She's crawled there before because of the pain and not wanting to wake me up. So I'm scared. I jump up out of bed, go into the other room. She's standing in the kitchen. I go, are you okay? She goes, I'm great. What are we doing today? I have my wife back. I have my wife back because of a simple thing. That's the mushroom. We live in a mechanical world, and we look for medications to be a mechanical answer. And yet this mushroom literally is an organic answer, which is energy. And the only way that I can really put that into summation is, this energy is life. The body has just used it to fix itself. Mm-hmm. Not a cure for anything, just the ability for the body to have her fix itself. And we are celebrating 2 years and 1 month, I think, without medication at all for my wife. And I have my wife back.
That's so wonderful. For you and for her, of course. And I know that one thing that she's told me is that she didn't just stop the medication all at once, that she felt like her body could tell her when a particular medication really had run its course and wasn't going to do any more for her. So when you say like a year and a couple months, that would have been for the last medication.
Yes,
Because she did stop them periodically along the way. Isn't that correct?
she did. She did. And under doctor's care, of course, wrapped around it. But the doctor would go, I disappeared there, but the doctor would what was going on is as she could breathe better. And that they said, well, let's maybe back down on the dosage that's there. And then she would get a new prescription and then not take the medication and just see how it was. And sometimes it would be that she would need to be on that smaller dose for a little bit of time before she did away with that. I had something similar happen for myself wrapped around diabetes. And that is that when because I was on insulin, I was on metformin and all of those things, and had moved into taking insulin. And with the progression of the mushroom, I then needed less and less of the insulin until I didn't need to take the insulin anymore. And I had lost 65 pounds wrapped around it all, but that's a whole different story for me. For Gail, she dropped weight as well, wrapped around the medication, because she didn't have the swelling that happened with the autoimmune situations that were going on. So she didn't have the problems with joint pain and the swelling that was wrapped around there. And that also eliminated some of the pain that was happening for her in her life. And so she saw many, many different things: skin clearing up, hair growing back, things that she thought, well, she was not going to have again, like eyelashes. She saw her eyelashes going away and getting thinner. And then all of a sudden, her eyelashes are not thinning out anymore. And so can we pinpoint it and say, this is mushrooms that have done this? No, it's the body just fixing itself where it needs to get fixed. We're going to get old. The age is going to come, but we don't have to feel old to be that age, right? And so that's kind of where Gail and I are around the placebo effect with mushrooms, is that we see the things that are happening with us and we go, okay, we understand that our body is now in a place that it can deal with chronic fatigue syndrome. It can deal with fibromyalgia. It can deal with arthritis. It can deal with the gut pain that comes along with, oh my gosh, the gut pain that my wife would end up going through around just eating a meal that didn't sit with her, right? And so, yeah, I could go on, but there's just, when we talk about Zenta's life improved 500 and 600%. And my wife's life improved that same amount, but getting rid of pain and irritation and frustration. And very much like Alexandria, she was happier and could be more comfortable working and being around people because she wasn't irritated from the autoimmune problems that were ending up happening. Is that making sense? Is that resonating? Yeah. So
I've seen some similar results, and even in my own life with having IBS for a long time. And I used to weigh 310 pounds. I was down to 210 now. And so, like, just getting your gut health in order makes a huge difference. And I can't wait for all the other effects to come into place. And that's only been a year, So, yeah, I can't recommend it enough, honestly.
Yeah. I know that we talked about that we wanted this to be a focus of autoimmune, and part of this story is, but Kurt, I think it's really important, the family with the dog and the two adults, you know who I mean, right?
Yes.
And because it does point out the fact that this mushroom can affect the body to be able to heal itself from the most catastrophic thing down to something minor. So can you tell that about the lady that called about her dog that had problems at both ends?
I can. I think it goes right to immune things with Phil, and I have permission to share their names, so I will, just first names. And again, around things being organic and energy wise, Carson was the dog who had 7 surgeries on its stomach, and was slated to go in for another surgery. And so I shared with Shar. I said, "Look, I'm certified in pet nutrition. I'm working on my mycology certification. I want to be able to assist if I can." And she says, "Okay, so what do I need to do with Carson?" And so we got him on the regimen of the sequoia food and the mushrooms to help with the immune system and stabilizing the stomach. And I don't know if your viewers know, but your stomach bacteria have an intellect. They have a smarts about them. And the mushroom creates a biome of good bacteria that work with each other to create that. And that's some of what David was talking about around that good bacteria. And what they're realizing is the bacteria in the gut will help us either gain weight or lose weight, right? Amazingly enough, now Carson didn't have to go to do surgery because his gut was getting so much better. And Char's on the phone with me, and she goes, "Okay, what about my husband?" And I said, "Well, wait a second. Certified in pet nutrition, right? Not certified in people." And she goes, "Yeah, but what can I do? Because Phil's a COVID long hauler. We lost him. We almost lost him 3 times. He redlined on the table in the emergency room 3 times, and he can't get up to walk around. He has all of these problems. He has this pain that's going on for him. He's now developing arthritis. He has all of this that's happening, sucking down 6 bottles of oxygen, a medicine cabinet full of medicines that they're prescribing." And I said, "We'll just try it. We'll just try the mushrooms." And she's like, "Okay." She gives me a call almost a week later, and she's like, "Where are my mushrooms? Where are my mushrooms?" And I'm like going, "Char, what's going on?" I go, "How's Carson?" She goes, "Carson's fine." It's Phil. He's downstairs. Phil could only walk to the bathroom, and Phil would suck down 6 liters of oxygen every single day. And so Phil would make it to the bathroom. It'd take him 3 or 4 minutes to recover. And then he'd walk back to bed. And then it'd take him 3 or 4 minutes to recover. And so he walked down the stairs to be in the kitchen with her, and was only on a bottle and a half of oxygen a day.
And how long was that after he started the mushrooms?
5 or 6 days.
Wow.
5 or 6 days. Now, it works different for everybody. Everybody's immune system is different, so it works different for everybody. I've worked with folks with COPD and different things, and it's taken them 60 to 90 days. For Phil, it just opened up his lungs. And so what happened with Char is that she had put in an order for an overnight, and she hadn't run out of her mushrooms, but she wanted to make sure that she didn't, because the weekend was coming. And so I checked, found out that her order was going to be delivered that day. She was fine. Give her a call another week later, and I said, "How's Carson?" She goes, "Carson's fine, no diarrhea, no throwing up." And so, "How's Phil doing?" And she said, "Phil took his first trip to the grocery store. He's pushing a cart, but he's taking his first trip to the grocery store." And she goes, "What about me?" And I said, "Well, what about you, Char?" And she goes, "I have high blood pressure. I have problems with my liver. I have diabetes. I'm exhausted because of all this stuff that's going on with Phil. Now, Phil was a COVID long hauler, had been dealing with this for a year, from November to November. I'm talking to her in December. And so I'm going, okay, Char, well, let's get you on the same mushroom that Phil's on, and let's try it, right? Because it's just a food, it's not a medication. Let's just try it. Based her on weight, we put her on the medication, on the mushroom, and I give her a call a couple weeks later. And I said, how's everything going? She goes, great. Phil's already gone to the grocery store. I said, he's on his own going to the grocery store? Yes, he's driving. He's going to the grocery store now. I go, that's awesome. I said, so how are you doing? She said, well, I hired 2 people to come in and help me. I fired both of them because I can run circles around them now. She said, my arthritis is better. My sugar numbers are down. My blood pressure is down. And this is a woman who takes meticulous notes of everything. And so she was seeing results just a few weeks after she had taken the mushrooms. And so it literally, this one organic energy source has created something in a family that has lifted their immune system, modulated it so that it could fight off whatever else is going on. Mm-hmm. And this was going on 3 years ago, 2 years ago. 2 years ago, it'll be 3 years in November. Changing the world, amazing. One pet, one person, one family at a time is really our mission.
Yeah.
And so any of your listeners that hear our stories and know of somebody that is suffering from something, have them get a hold of Deb's Pets and see some of the videos that are there and take a look at what's there and just try it. Just try it.
Yeah. Yep.
Absolutely amazing.
Very true. Wow. People have to understand that, just like you said. I mean, Phil saw unbelievable results, really, for 5 or 6 days, and he had cut back so much on the oxygen intake, but it can take a while. But hey, we've got to try. If you're willing to try something that's a natural solution, mm-hmm. that will allow the body to heal itself, mm-hmm. then just please try. That's all that we can ask. Not going to be 100%, but it's helped a lot of people.
Yeah, and give it 30 to 60 days too.
At least.
It's not an overnight solution, and depending on the severity of what you're trying to treat, like dogs with tumors and stuff like that, double, triple the dose. It's all natural. That's right. Not going to hurt them. It's natural food.
More,
and that's kind of what I did with Peyton. Like mm-hmm. right out the gate, was I had him on 2 to 3 biscuits a day. And for his size at 17 pounds, that's quite the power punch. And I'll tell you what, I can't tell you how big of a difference it's made. It's made a difference in my life, taking the supplements. But you guys can go ahead and close it out, because the only testament I got is that my 16-year-old dog, he's doing so good. I had to dip out because he was like bugging me to go outside. So,
yeah.
Let me share 2 more situations with autoimmune. One of them is depression. A lot of people don't know that depression is actually linked to autoimmune. And 1 out of 6 individuals in the United States suffers from some form of depression, one way or another. Hang on. Some form of depression, one way or another. And so if you know somebody who's depressed, this is one thing that it's been given to individuals who are going through a bout of melancholy for thousands of years, and that is depression. And it can take 2, 3, 4 months to be able to see results around that. And Gabe is one of those examples. Then the other example that is on the more severe, well, depression is severe too, because it can people can hurt themselves. But on the other side of autoimmune is cancer. And cancer is an autoimmune reaction. It's one of the most severe. And there's a woman that's in my networking group, and she has had cancer on her nose 6 times. They've taken different parts of her nose, and the cancer came back. And they said that once they removed this portion of this part of the cancer, they would probably have to rebuild her nose. It was that bad. And so she's going to the skin doctor actually on Thursday, and the cancer's gone. She can't see any signs of it anymore. And the skin doctor had literally said, okay, try this, because the radiation and those things are not going to be as effective anymore. We just need to do surgery each time that you have the cancer. And she has no more of this cancer because of her body creating what's going on. Again, not a cure for anything. Her body has the elevation to be able to take care of what it's taking care of. So from the mildest of conditions all the way up to the most catastrophic, the mushroom can assist the body to do what the body does naturally. Yeah. And I love having and being on this side of it, where I'm hearing David talking about his dog running up the stairs, and Deb, you talking about your dog absolutely loving life and having to go out and run around, and just the energy that goes on. So if anybody is listening to this and knows somebody that needs some assistance wrapped around this, please don't hesitate to pick up the phone, pick up a text, give us a call, or just get on to debspets.com and take a look. It doesn't hurt. You're not hooked into anything. Just take a look and see. Right. And if it inspires you, try it, Yeah.
And I think I'd like to plan on having you back, Kurt, in a couple of weeks, because the mother company there is having their big shindig coming up, and they always introduce something new, and we could inform everybody as to what those new things are.
Absolutely. It's always an honor and a privilege to be on the show with you, with both of you guys.
Well, thank you. And it's a privilege to have you on as well. So, Emily, could you tell us about our third sponsor to close us out?
Okay, so this show is a part of the World of Ability Podcast Network. And so we'd love to have everybody join us on this show or any of the other shows, which the flagship show of the network is World of Ability on Saturdays at 1 o'clock p.m. Central. So if you are interested in being on any of the shows, let us know. We'll get taken care of. And love everybody to please check out our social media and like, share, subscribe on YouTube, LinkedIn, and so on. And again, we are here every Tuesday at 8 o'clock p.m. Central. And so I guess until next time, have a safe and productive week, and to stay happy.
Awesome.
Thank you. You too.
Thanks, Emily. I appreciate it.